So while mini consoles have sort of come and gone, I still think there's two that a lot of people wish were a reality and still have a lot of nostalgia for these systems. The first one would be the Dreamcast Mini. Maybe I'm the only person who wants that, but beyond that, the Nintendo 64 is definitely a console that, well, a lot of people thought Nintendo was going to make a N64 Mini because of the fact that it was such a revolutionary system. It's one of my favorite systems of all time. It has one of my favorite Super Mario games, one of my favorite Legend of Zelda games, countless wrestling games. It was a 3D pioneer in the video game landscape, allowed for analog controls with the analog stick on the system. Definitely a revolutionary system, and it's something that I feel like a lot of people hold near and dear to my heart. Well, a new Nintendo 64 was just announced for 2024 with 4K capabilities, and boy, oh boy, do I have a lot of things to say about this, specifically because of the company involved with it. The company involved is Analogue. Remember them? I made a video on them a couple weeks ago. So we're going to get into the nitty-gritty about what we know about this system, what the questions are about this system. But before we get into that, we have to sort of understand how the Nintendo 64 works, because to play a baseline Nintendo 64 on your HD TV in 2023 and beyond, well, it's not really an easy task. When you look at the video output specifications of the Nintendo 64, there are really two things. You have your standard AV cables, and then you have your S-video cables. Now, the highest output signal that the Nintendo 64 can do natively is S-video. So there are things out there like, you know, upscalers. There's things like the Eon HD adapter for the Nintendo 64. And while I love the Eon HD adapter for the GameCube, the Nintendo 64 one, it just didn't work well for me. I didn't think it looked that much better because, once again, it's just taking that S-video signal and trying to upscale that. It's not true 4K or true upscaling. It's just upscaling an S-video image. Same thing with things like the RetroTink. Now, the RetroTink, I think, works a little bit better than the Eon 64, but it's still just taking that S-video signal and making it applicable for an HD television. It looks good, don't get me wrong, but it's not great. It's not really something that is just absolutely mind-blowing. Now, there are things out there like the Ultra HDMI adapters that you can get for the N64 that you actually have to solder to the Nintendo 64 board to fully replicate and take out the S-video and make it so that it's running at a native HD resolution. These things work great, but like I said, you have to buy the piece itself. It's pretty expensive. You have to assemble the kit. You have to install the kit into the motherboard of the Nintendo 64. It's definitely not very user-friendly. Now, as far as clone systems are concerned, well, there was the Warrior HD, which was a Nintendo 64 thing where they swore up and down they were using the same Ultra HDMI chip that you would get in one of these packages when you order the Ultra 64, or the Ultra HDMI kit for your Nintendo 64, but everyone found out that that was kind of poppycock. That wasn't exactly the case, and it was pretty much just an S-video signal that was being used. Hyperkin allegedly was making a Nintendo 64, but that never materialized. Nintendo themselves, they've put some N64 games on the Nintendo Switch Online service. You know, they do look pretty good. There are some upscaled textures and stuff like that, but still, you can't play your cartridges on your Nintendo Switch for your Nintendo 64, so there's definitely still a marketplace for that. So now that we've got the history lesson out of the way and kind of why certain things work and certain things don't work, let's talk about the actual product itself, because boy, oh boy, well, it's Analogue. Now, you might remember I might have made a little bit of a scathing video on Analogue pretty recently, and I don't think I was unfair in that video because I do not like their consumer practices, and we'll talk about those in just a minute. But let's talk about this product first. The Analogue 3D, a reimagining of the Nintendo 64. 4K resolution. The future is here. 64 bits of pleasure. Coming in 2024. Sign up to be notified when Analogue 3D is available, blah, 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 blah. And then they have some other news here about their other products and stuff. You can learn about the controller. I think they did a little teaser for the controller as well. I don't know. I could be wrong on that. Maybe this is the controller. I don't know. I guess this is the system or something like that. But alas. So this is an Analogue product, and we're going to assume that's an FPGA system. because that's what Analogue does. They've of course made FPGA Game Boys, they've made Super Nintendos, they've made Sega Genesises, Genesi, I guess would be the word there. And while I enjoy the build quality of these systems, I think the build quality is unmatched, and you know, it's definitely reflected in the price point. I owned a Mega SG for a while and I loved it. I thought it was a great way to play Sega Genesis games. The problem with Analogue is just how they sort of conduct their business, because they really rely a lot on the FOMO aspect, the fear of missing out. So they do these limited pre-order windows with stuff, and you know, you hope you get your pre-order in, and if you don't get your pre-order in, it doesn't get fulfilled, this, that, and the other. There's still people waiting for the Analogue Pocket that came out a while ago from their initial pre-orders, but that hasn't stopped Analogue from making variations of the Analogue Pocket that have come out, have been announced, people bought them, and they've come out before people have still gotten their pre-orders for the Analogue Pocket. You can find all the information online and in various Twitter threads and Reddit threads about it. But it's definitely a business model that raises a lot of questions, because you have a very high quality product, but it's clear that you are contingent on the FOMO aspect. Now, the FPGA aspect of this system is going to be very nice, and you would have to assume it's using something similar to like an Ultra HDMI Out for this system, which is the best way to play N64 games. And look, I'm the emulation king here. I've got a million mini PCs and emulators and crap like that, but even I can realize that there is some problems from time to time with Nintendo 64 emulation, and an FPGA system with essentially an Ultra HDMI Out that's allowing for a clean 4K or 1080p image definitely sounds extremely attractive. But is this system ever going to come out? Are we just trying to create a little bit of a buzz for it? Now, Analogue does have a pretty good track record with releasing their systems, but where's that Turbo Duo system? You know, that was supposed to be a thing. I remember seeing things about it. I remember I believe they had open pre-orders for that because they didn't really have much faith in that selling. And maybe there weren't enough pre-orders to fulfill to make it worthwhile for them to build one of these systems, because they've gotten extremely quiet on it. Where is that Turbo Duo system? Now, they do have a better track record than a company like Hyperkin with actually releasing their systems, but I'm just worried that this is going to be just such a limited system to come across, potentially at a high price point, and people are going to be able to buy multiples of them. We talked about this before with the re-releases of the Analogue Pocket. For some reason, you could buy 2 of them. Why? Nobody needs 2 of them. They only need 1 of them. You're just encouraging scalpers, because at the end of the day, I honestly don't feel like you care about consumers getting these products. You just care about them selling. And as long as they sell, you make money, and you could sit upon your throne and be happy with your scepter and your crown and stuff like that. And look, I get it. That's the whole point of a business, is to sell your product. But you should try to sell it to the right people at least. I think this N64 thing is going to be very interesting, though. I'm very curious to see the FPGA mechanic that they have in it. Mr. has come along as well. Mr., for you know, your FPGA stuff, Mr. has included N64 stuff. There's a new core out for that as well. So Nintendo 64 stuff is potentially going to be very interesting in 2024. This system is slated for 2024. I would have to imagine it's going to be like in the $400 price range, but as someone who does still have some N64 cartridges, I am kind of curious about it. I am the emulation king, but that doesn't mean that I look my nose down upon physical goods and physical hardware if it's something attractive to me, and that's an attractive system. I have a lot of love for the Nintendo 64 that never seems to go away. I want to see what this system looks like. I want to see the capabilities of the system. Are you going to do a standard controller with this system? What exactly are you doing with it? It'll be interesting to see, but I also realize that I'll probably miss out the pre-order window, and I won't even be able to get my hands on one of these unless I want to pay a scalper like twice the damn price. So let me know what you think about this. The Analogue 3D, a brand new Nintendo 64 system coming in 2024, allegedly. Hopefully the quality is better than the Warrior HD or the unreleased Hyperkin system, which I've actually heard some things about that system off the record that, I mean, it would kind of make you shake your head about it, just to say, let's just keep it at that. And as always, guys, Thank you guys for checking out this video. Let me know in the comments section down below. Are you excited for this? Have you been burned by Analogue too much to get excited for this product? Because I feel like there's a lot of people that have been, and there's a lot of people that are just going to be like, I'm not going to waste my time trying to get it. There's other alternatives out there. I'll seek out those other alternatives. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share the video around, let your friends, family, enemies know, hey, there's a new N64 system coming. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.